Hi, I'm Mike Barltrop from WhatBinder.com, and today we're here to talk to Ed Greenwood. Ed, I'd just like to welcome you all the way from the Edverse. That's at the Edverse on Twitter. Ed's known as a very prolific writer, and apparently he's done a few things with Dungeons and Dragons. So I'd just like to thank you for stopping by and having this chat with us today.
Can you hear me? Good. Excellent. Hi. Hi. I'm a writer, and here I am. I'll start by saying any writing advice you get from anybody, including me, take with a grain of salt, because we're all different. Okay? So my secret perfect way of doing something might not work for you. But there are some basic things about writer's craft that you learn the hard way over the years. And so one of them is you guys are living in the best time to be a writer because you have this wonderful thing called a computer as opposed to typewriters. Meaning, if an idea comes to you, you can jot it down. You can put it in anywhere and you can move it around later. When I was a kid, the world was sepia. Never mind. When I was a kid, you had to type everything. Moving things around in a document was really difficult. So you guys are living in the dream age where if something occurs to you, you can just write it. You can be writing a physics assignment and you come up with a great idea for a scene, for a story, and you can just type it in, bing, and then move it later. So you are actually living in the most wonderful thing. And there are some tricks that work for me. And here's the big one. When you stare at a blank white screen or a blank white piece of paper, you're going to blink first. You can stare at that white thing thinking, how do I make great story come out of this? And it's not going to help you. But it is a lot easier to fix something that is sitting in front of you than to make something up that you out of nothing. And the best way to do that is if you're writing and you finish a scene or you finish a chapter, the instinct, the human nature instinct is to just stop. Save, I'm done. I can pick this up tomorrow. Let's find something to eat. Here's the trick. Start the next chapter. Start the next scene. Write a couple lines. Even if it's garbage, even if you know you're going to change it tomorrow, it's easier to jump on something that is already written and expand on it, fix it, change it, than it is to stare at a blank screen and start something. So for those of you who have a hard time starting, just jump in anywhere. If you're my age and you grew up with typewriters, there is this horrible ingrained tendency to write chronologically. Start at the beginning, write your way through the story to the end. And that's the most logical way to do it. It's the easiest way to keep track of everything you've done in the narrative so far. But the joy of computers, the benefit you have by doing it right now, is you can literally jump in anywhere. You can write the big climax scene, the big fight, the big denouement. You can write it right away first, and then you can construct the story around it. Or if an idea comes to you for a really funny line or in the middle of writing a really tragic death scene, you can just write the funny line down and move it later. Don't ever worry about getting things in order. Just do that. Pour it out onto the page. This is how I got through high school. I poured everything out onto the page. And you can do it too. So, what would you most like me to talk about? What can I be of most help to you guys?
So, one question that people have been having is, how did you go from what you were before to what you are today? How did you transition to becoming a writer, which is something that you are incredibly well known for?
um, I was 6 at the time, so I hadn't really thought about whether I was going to be a writer. I just wrote. You see, um, my father's den was crammed full of books. Like most people who collect books, he built his own bookshelves so that he could sort them by size to cram in the maximum number of books. And it was full of all sorts of stuff, from advanced radio source physics theses to wartime pulp paperbacks that were falling apart. Give one to a friend in uniform. And I was forever pounding up the stairs with a really lurid paperback saying, Dad, this was great. Where's the next one? And my father would always say something along the lines of, well, son, that author died in 1936. So if you want any sequels, you're going to have to write them yourself. I'd say, okay. And I go running back downstairs to the den. And my Aunt Clara had done what all farm women of that era did. You saved all your brown paper bags from the supermarket because there were no plastic bags back then. And you slit them neatly up the sides with your kitchen cleaver, and then you ironed them on the ironing board so they were flat. And then you handed them to the children. If you weren't running a farm and didn't need to jot down farm financial figures, you handed them to the children to crayon on and write on. So I went down to my stack of brown paper and I started writing sequels to all of these pulp adventure stories, which was really good because although the sequels were really bad, I was learning style. I was learning to copy other writers' styles. I was learning what I liked and what I could pull off and what I couldn't, which is another of the secrets of writing. The more input you have, the more you read, the more of other people's stuff you read, and all sorts of stuff, not just what you like or what's favorite, but reading textbooks. If you don't like romances, read a romance. You don't have to read all of it. A couple pages will do. You dig into somebody else's writing style and see how they pulled off a scene. When they ended a scene and jumped to the next scene, what was the transition like? Did it work for you or not? Stuff like that. You just sort of read what other people do and go, okay, or I can do that. And that's how I learned to be a writer. I was 6 years old. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just writing stories to entertain myself. And guess what? Writers write. You can't stop us. You might stop us getting published, and many, many people never finish the big stories they want to tell. They never get to the end of their novel because they let life get in the way. But writers just write. You can't stop us.